How's it going, man?
Good, Josh. Well, thank you for joining me today on Press Day.
Yeah, of course. Our pleasure.
Exciting time, as friends. Hit Monkey season two. I don't even know where to start with you guys. I got all these notes written down for you. So whoever wants to take this first question, what can fans expect when they first tune in for season two? What are you hoping they get out of this season?
Well, if you've seen the first season, which is a sort of dark, exploration of the price of violence and kind of this interesting kind of neo-noir set in Tokyo. Now these characters come to New York and really have to kind of unpack their history in a lot of ways. Bryce has to go back and really try to, make amends with his grown daughter Iris, who is played by Cristin Milioti, really amazingly in this series. And, Monkey has to kind of contend with Olivia Munn's character coming now for revenge. And so both of these characters are struggling up against the choices that they've made in their lives. And also, we think in a lot of ways this season is funnier than the first season because we have big new characters like Leslie Jones and Jim Gaffigan and a lot of amazing characters in the season.
How would you describe how would you say like Monkey and Bryce's characters evolved this season?
Say that again.
How would you say like Monkey and Bryce's characters also evolved throughout this season?
Yeah, well, Monkey becomes, has really been struggling, the whole two seasons with the path that he's on, kind of forced to navigate this, corrupt human world. While Bryce, in a lot of ways, has become more sensitive and, from a guy that really cared about nobody but himself, a guy who was, broken down and selfish. It's almost like he's woken up in some way and realized, the path that he's on is a dead end, and so he has become a much more kind of evolved guy in this season, while still retaining a lot of his humor. And we're watching him really struggle this season, which I think is, from a heart standpoint, is much more interesting.
What would you say for season two? What are some of the central themes that you guys are trying to tackle in season two compared to the first season?
Again, I think it's kind of there's a quote in the original comic, graphic novel that said, be careful if you pick up a gun in anger because you'll never be able to put it down. And we always had that frame on our wall of the writer's room because it really is the central linchpin of the graphic novel, of the character, and we think of the show, which is like a Western or a Yakuza revenge film. It's always like the gunslinger, once he touches violence, can never live in town. He can never live the normal life. And you look at a lot of movies that are based on this, from, again, Kurosawa films to Westerns to even movies like Drive, where, that character wants to evolve at a certain point, and the tragicness of those characters are they actually gain some kind of consciousness, but it's too late because the world won't let them back in. And that's really what you're watching these characters struggle with in this season.
What would you say is like the biggest challenges for season two to like bringing it to life?
Well, for Will and I think it was being in a new city and
Yeah,
really
okay.
doing what we loved about season one, which had the coolness of Tokyo and all of this kind of interesting texture, bringing that into New York. We're both from New York. We both, love New York as a moody kind of, city, but we really wanted to kind of create a version of New York that would fit Hit Monkey. So I think from the design standpoint, from the character standpoint, I think that was the biggest kind of challenge of the season.
I noticed, we have a lot of like those intense action scenes through. Like, how do you balance these scenes with these characters? Well,
Um, I think it's finding intimacy in and amongst the scale and scope so that if there's a big action sequence, not losing sight of the comedy and the interpersonal dynamics between the characters. Like any good action, there's sort of the 0 foot view and the 5,000 foot view. And you kind of want to make sure those two things are working in tandem to each other because I think if you get a little too detached in those action sequences, especially in animation from the characters, that's when you really start to feel like you click off. But I think as long as you're checking in with the emotional underpinning, that's when the action really soars.
I know you mentioned new characters. And can you guys tease any cameos or anything throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really exciting, eclectic group of actors that we have to work with. You know, we have everyone from Rod Cordry to Jim Gaffigan to Nat Faxon. You know, we talked about, you know, Cristin, Fred, Sudeikis, Maki, Leslie Jones. You know, Eric Roberts comes in, you know, and plays an amazing role. Olivia Munn comes back as usual, you know, so we have a pretty packed bench. You know,
Everybody was kind of our first choice. It's the amazing thing about animation is people, you know, the time commitments are less, and if the characters are appealing to the actors, it's one of the joys of animation is you can get them in the booth.
Last question. What's been like the fan reaction now with, you know, season 1 has already been aired and now season 2 on its way?
Well, I mean, you know, we don't know what the reaction yet is to season 2, but season 1 was really what we hoped for, you know, which was the people who watched the show, got the show, and, you know, appreciated the kind of, you know, look, we've always been these kind of pirates over in the corner of the Marvel universe, right? Where
Yeah.
you know, we're able to kind of go, you know, hard R, we're able to go super violent, we're able to kind of explore this very moody and cinematic version of a very obscure character that we've always loved. And so it's been kind of a dream, you know, project for us over these 2 seasons to kind of unpack this just weird, offbeat, interesting little world.
Amazing. Well, Josh, I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes today on press day, you know, Hit Monkey season 2. Thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Nice talking
Thank
to
you.
you.
Have a great day.
You too.